Hi everyone. So you don't believe in the resurrection? Well, some would say that this is all made up. But who and why would anyone put so much time and effort into such an elaborate fabrication? What would they have to gain by it? And how could they have gotten away with it? We can look at the subject from two perspectives: the historical evidence and the philosophical. Both play an important role in understanding this topic. Let's take a quick peek. So what does history tell us? We do have references to the resurrection by non-Christian sources. I'll only be reading the verses that are specific to the topic at hand. They do, however, contain more information on the historical events surrounding Jesus and others such as John the Baptist. I think you'll find them interesting reading if you're so inclined. The first document, commonly referred to as the Testimonium Flavonium, was written by 1st century Jewish historian Flavius Josephus. In the Antiquities of the Jews it states, "And when Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men amongst us, had condemned him to the cross, those that loved him at first did not forsake him, for he appeared to them again alive on the third day." Pretty straightforward. The second reference is from Roman historian and senator Tacitus. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate, and a most mischievous superstition, thus checked for a moment, again broke out, not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but also in Rome. So let's break this down. Thus checked for a moment is an obvious reference to the crucifixion. Again broke out, a reference to the resurrection. Another historical reference is in the Jewish literature Toldoth Jesu. In these writings, the Jews made many specific claims about Jesus. They claimed that the body was stolen. This matches the biblical account in Matthew, chapter 28, verses 11 to 15. Here the Jews claimed that the body was stolen, leaving the empty tomb. So the historical evidence indicates that something significant actually happened. Now let's have a philosophical discussion. So now we know the tomb was empty. Did his followers steal the body? To understand this, we have to put ourselves back 2,000 years and consider what Jesus was to them. Many believed he was the Messiah, sent by God to deliver the Israelites from bondage. He was considered a teacher and a prophet, a model of moral behavior for mankind. You know, things like being honest and not lying. But most important, he was their salvation, the path to God. To say he was a very important person would be an understatement. He was their everything. Then one day their whole world came crashing down. We can only imagine the array of emotions they would be experiencing. Of course they would be in mourning, mass confusion. Some may be angry, perhaps even feeling betrayed. Could the Sadducees have been correct all along in that he was a false Messiah? It's logical to assume that they went back to their traditional lives as best they could. With this understanding, what would they have to gain by stealing the body? It would only be perpetrating a lie that would serve no purpose. And why would his followers be willing to risk persecution for a lie? Another consideration. It was the women who first discovered the empty tomb. Women in first century Jewish culture were subordinate to men with little credibility. If anyone was going to make up such a story, would it not be logical for the witnesses to be males with a greater standing in society? And how could they have done this without getting caught? This adds another layer of doubt to the stolen body theory. Jerusalem has always been a crowded city. It could not have been a case of one or two people sneaking in at night. The large stones, like the one in the picture, that were rolled into place to seal a tomb are still in evidence in the Holy Land today. It would have taken a group of people, and it's likely stealth would not have been possible. Scripture tells us that the tomb was guarded, making this even more unlikely. Would the disciples even have the courage to do such a thing? On the evening of Jesus' arrest, Mark 14, verses 50, states, "Then everyone deserted him and fled." Or John chapter 20, verse 19. On the evening of the first day of the week, when the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came to them and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Sounds to me like they did not have an abundance of courage until after the resurrection. And it would have taken a great deal of courage to steal a body. So to summarize, a small band of insignificant believers turned the Roman Empire upside down within the span of a few hundred years following Jesus' resurrection. Their testimony that they had witnessed and spent time with the resurrected Jesus led to their torture, banishment, and cruel deaths. They were hung on crosses, fed to lions, beaten by gladiators, and burned alive. It is not logical that anyone would be willing to go to their torturous deaths for a lie. There was nothing to gain by doing so.